Hello! Well, the sun is shining and I couldn't resist coming for a walk to one of my favourite spots this time of year, the Fin Valley. Now it's just a short walk from my house down the end of the lane and then I find myself somewhere like this. Absolutely gorgeous. And this time of year there are certain spots that are covered in bluebells. So I'll quite often sit here quietly listening to the birds. I can actually hear a cuckoo in the background. It's quite a way away, but I can hear one. And I'll quite often see little mammals scurrying around as well as bees and other insects flying around. So I always make sure that I bring my favourite gadget along with me, and you probably have got one of these as well. It's my smartphone. But what I wanted to talk to you about in this video is my favourite app, or one of my favourite apps anyway, and that's the Wildlife Trust Nature Finder app. So let's have a closer look at it. So here's my phone, and here's the icon for the Wildlife Trust Nature Finder app. So let's give that a press, and it takes us straight into the app. So you can see we've got 5 icons across the bottom here, and we'll go through those one at a time. The first one is reserves, and it shows us a map of all the Wildlife Trust reserves across the country. And the app uses the GPS function on your phone to pinpoint exactly where you are, and then it shows you all of the reserves nearby. So we can zoom in a little bit, and then we can click on an icon, and it tells us the name of that particular reserve. We can then click on the information button, and it will give us even more details about that particular reserve. Even things like location, directions, and other visitor information. Now, if we click back, we can also look at this as a list view. So all you do is type in your hometown in the field here, click on the magnifying glass, and it will give you a list of all the nature reserves close to you. The next icon is events. So if we click on that, you see it gives us a list of all of the Wildlife Trust events happening across the country. But if you click in here and you type in your hometown, and then again click on the magnifying glass, it will then give you a list of all the events that are happening near you over the next few days. The next icon is wildlife, and this is my favourite section. You see it's broken down into 4 categories: animals, plants and fungi, marine wildlife, and habitats. So let's click on animals, and you can see we've got lots of different categories of animals there. Let's click on birds, and probably most of you will have seen and can probably identify a blue tit. So let's have a look at one of those. So you can see we've got a lovely image here to help with ID, and then there's lots of useful information about that species and what is being done by people in the Wildlife Trust and across conservation to help that particular species. Let's go back and have a look at another section. So let's have a look at plants and fungi. Now, one of my favourite things to do is to go for a walk in the woods and look for different types of fungi in all the damp wood and the undergrowth. And this app is really useful for helping you ID the different types of fungi that you're likely to come across. So let's have a look at this amethysty civet again. A good image there to help with ID, and then useful information about that particular plant. Now, the next icon across the bottom here is my faves. So let's click on that. You can see that's broken down into 3 categories as well. So you can list your favourite reserves, events, or species in this particular section. Now, I like to use the species section to list all of the species that I see when I go on a particular walk. So for example, I've come for a walk today and I'm sitting in a field of bluebells, so I want to record that I've seen bluebells. So I'll go back to the plants and fungi section, I'll look for the wildflowers section, and then in there I should find, let's have a look, bluebells. So we click on bluebells, and if you look in the top right hand corner here you can see a star. So if you click on that, that then means that you've favorited that species. So if we go back to the my fave section, you can see here now in species we've got bluebells. So we can keep adding to that through the walk. So if we see different types of birds, I just heard a pheasant calling, so if I see the pheasant I can then add that to the list, and we can look at the different species of trees. There could be bees and other insects that we see, so we can keep a full list of what we see in this section here. Now the last icon is at the bottom here is about, and if we click on that you can see it gives us lots of details about the wildlife trusts in general. There's a link directly to the Wildlife Trust website, but you can also find your local wildlife trust and all of the relevant contact information for them. So hopefully this gives you a bit of an idea about the Nature Finder app from the Wildlife Trust and how useful it can be. Download it for your iPhone or Android device. It's free to download, jam-packed full of useful information, really easy to use, and I guarantee you'll have fun using it on your walks.